Astronomers have come across a star that floats away through space so isolated that it should not even be there. NASA is now faced with a mystery. How could a single star be born in the place that is so going to kill all forms of life that it resembled an Earth's ice field? Is it a natural occurrence we are looking at when considering this star, or can it at all be a product of alien activity? X-330 is unanimously the most isolated star in our galaxy. Some 30,000 light-years from Earth, it moves in a vast area where the company is not another star. Astrobiologists are still mysteries about how this star has managed to find its way among the empty space, as the nearest star-forming regions are millions of light-years away from this lonely object. What science has today is a number of questions. Whether on its own the CX-330 originated in this place, whether, in contrast, in some manner it was tossed to this solitary location. Okay, some theories go to an extent of calling CX-330 a fake star, or even an alien object in the universe. Were this peculiar opinion to be true, we might be faced once again with an effect for which there is no room in the physical sciences of the present day. Everyone knows that stars are born in tri-nucleus, mainly in the dark clouds of gas dust. It is there that they are more often than not birthed alone. Supergiants of gas and dust, for example, pillars of creation or the Orion Nebula, are real stellar cradles in which hundreds or even thousands of stars are created. Young, luminous fireballs of specific spectral classes are formed out of the dust disks belonging to such planetary systems as ours, and similar in it, the planets, moons, and similar objects. Studying these star-forming regions has until now provided a vast amount of knowledge on how stars are formed. But CX-330 is there now, so previous estimates that astronomers floated as to how much stars formed astronomically are turned on. There, head. Some kind of exceptionally luminous point in an otherwise dark area. It has a magical ring to it, to be honest. Usually, people explore a zone in space and time that is pretty much useless, and then one day they turn on a light. Thankfully, details of this amazing find were unearthing in 2016 with the aid of the Chandra X-ray Observatory. This telescope, which orbits around the Earth as Hubble or Webb, does not observe visible or infrared light, but only X-ray light. It is helping scientists discover occurrences in the universe that cannot be seen. Occurrences believed to exist, but for the existence proof offered through the help of this technological invention. Among the vast empty space of our galaxy, there are researchers seeking out for marvels which are elusive in this vast desert of space, but no one would have ever guessed to find a star in this deserted region. Still, at first, it was not quite understandable what the new discovery meant in fact. X-ray spectrum itself did not indicate whether it was a star, a galaxy, or perhaps even a black hole. More detailed studies done with other telescopes only corroborated the sensational finding. Single-star discovery in such an area was almost a miracle, the God's blessing that was given. But over and beyond that, it was also ascertained that the star was in a high-growth phase. Scientists came to this conclusion because CX-330, for some reason, radiates an inappropriately large amount of energy, including X-ray. As soon as the organizational affiliations of this second finding were understood, it was realized that CX-330 was in an embryonic state. It seems that when the value was first discovered, scientists tried to explain the existence of the star with various theories. It could be that the star had moved. This region is isolated, or some stellar flare has thrown the star into this region. The end notes. The emergence of an exceptional growth rate of CX-330 negated these explanations within minutes. The extreme X-ray radiation raised many more questions. How can such a star develop in such isolation? What are the circumstances by which stars are able to form outside the standard star formation areas? Affirmed stars like CX-330 can uncover totally new perceptions of star-creating forming. For example, This one could demonstrate that stars can also form in vacated and void areas. This would mean that the processes that initiate development of a luminous and huge fireball of a star may well occur outside of the conventional clouds of gases and dust. The question still is whether the other building blocks made up CX-330 and whether new kinds of matter can result into formation of stars. Migration of young stars. Suppose a young star which forms in center of a great cloud of hydrogen and dust is slashed out of this material and sent flying near another part of the galaxy. This scientist has now demonstrated that young stars can also migrate. It is not very strange to observe stars which migrate from older zones for some reasons in the universe. However, our 6 researchers once postulated the young stars cannot migrate from their preliminary birth sites. It can be therefore concluded that initially migration of CX-330 had been ruled out. But then researchers were able to show that a young star such as this could have formed and migrated out to this region. It might have developed in a normal star-forming area but later expelled from its birthplace by some peculiar velocities or gravitational forces acting on the galaxy. Such scenarios are big, or, more appropriately, epic. The pressures that can launch a young star out of a star-forming area and into one of the most isolated areas of the Milky Way galaxy are unimaginable. Only things like a collision of galaxies or other huge interactions of the various bodies in space could trigger such forces. That is, when 2 galaxies collide, such as Milky Way and Andromeda are expected to do in billions of years, stars would be ejected from their normal orbits and zoom into isolated areas. The passage of a gigantic black hole through a region of stars could also cause extended gravitational sling movements leading to the movement of young stars such as CX-330 to distant places. A star born out of nothing. You might not know this. But stars are simply mass of dust and gases that has been compressed to the highest level imaginable. The second hypothesis that has been given about the unexplained disappearance of CX-330 is that it is currently located somewhere with odd environmental characteristics. A relatively massive gas cloud can coalesce into a star, or at least that's the case when no cosmic dust is present. This is presumably how the first stars or galaxies were created well before the first stellar behemoths made dust through supernovae. There are therefore probably only stars which formed from gas and pressure. In general, the highest growth rate of CX-330 could mean that this star works as the initial stars in the universe do. If this was the case, then the find would be that much more valuable for the scientists because with the help of CX-330, they would be able to recreate the stellar evolution in its infancy. Other theories indicate that CX-330 could have originated from a star-forming region that does not exist. At present, there is practically nothing there. Sometimes there has been a grand stellar production line. For billions of times billions, stars came to life and went out. Essentially, one day, all the materials in the region were depleted, and CX-330 was the last star to be born in this region. Then it truly would be one of the most alone anywhere in the whole universe out there in the galaxy. Moreover, scientists assumed that the fact of enhanced energy production and the relatively high X-ray irradiation does not reveal the growth at all. The two effects could also be due to other processes that suppose a given architectural style. After that, the star might not be even a young star. It is an isolated special case that can help our scientists to find new data about the universe. Out. We can knock down CX-330 at any time. Is CX-330 an extraterrestrial power station? Amazingly, an intriguing theory from the 1960s is constantly brought out at any time when singular events in the universe cannot be accounted for. We do not know much about CX-330, and up to now we cannot determine whether any of the previous analyses can help elucidate the existence of the star. Certain theorists thus connect a Dyson sphere to CX-330, and the strange radiation, Inger. Basically, Dyson spheres are constructs which aliens erect around stars, which are in fact huge power stations. It originates from Nikolai Kardashev, who in the 60s stated clearly that there must be thousands, if not millions, of very much more advanced beings in space. In the image below, the highest realized organisms feed on stars and entire galaxies, according to his ranking. In theory, such power plants could put entire regions of space into blackout. CX-330 could be something like the middle of a colossal power station in the galaxy. The region in which the star was discovered would not be empty, but would be so modified that we are unable to observe the body that occupies this region. Of course, that sounds crazy, but it is theoretically possible. Voids, the only parts of the universe where nothing seems to be happening. At times, people suggest even these gigantic emptiness are actually alien energy farms. Otherwise, the fact that these are primarily vacated parts of the universe cannot be explained. In a mostly uniform world, such vortices should simply not exist at all. But they are there. Oppositely, voids are more extensive than the region where CX-330 was identified. They create holes of tens of millions and billions light-years in size. The cosmic web is a mesh of sites, large galaxies, clusters of galaxies, and enormous channels of dark matter diffuse in the universe and supersized filaments that span space. This network is a little bit of a linear construct as well. Science gurus can even make qualitative or quantitative estimates of such matter and energy distribution and likelihoods. Hence, the structure reveals a rhythm that can be defined, at least historically, down to the Big Bang. The issue here is the gaps that exist between those matter constructs that look great from afar. These are vast, almost desert spaces that radically transcend former nets of matter. They should not be present, and they are quite in opposition to the dispersion of matter in the universe. In fact, even the concept of Big Bang and the expansion can be negated to void by these. In essence, if the concept in the minds of old scientists is true, then the arrangement of the universe is hardly any different from the one that came after, the Big Bang. Nevertheless, interstices do not fall into this frame. There is no rational or even mathematical explanation with regard to their presence. As oversized balls or ovals in space mainly empty, they are the unknown in the celestial jigsaw. These regions contain only several galaxies, and matter density can be 90% lower than average density in the universe. Thus, voids are not empty places, and that's why they are even more interesting than if they were empty. Whereas dense assemblages of millions of galaxies, in clusters and filaments, exist in the central planes of cosmic sheets, webb elements, or ribs, solitary galaxies float in a nearly vacuum-like environment elsewhere, within ghostly voids. Consequences are objects that indicate previously unmeasurable gravitation for large formations. Objects could possibly compress in high-density regions as opposed to great empty zones that are dilated, or what could be referred to as inflated. The galaxies that are isolated in the voids are quite similar to the lone star CX-330. Even in emptiness, it'd be barely possible to encounter a star of this kind. Astrophysical conditions for star formation, like gas and dust, are nearly non-existent. However, there are individual galaxies, and they have to have appeared in voids in the same rather mysterious manner as the only star, CX-330. These both phenomena caused questions about nature of matter and stars in such lonely places of universe. Among the galaxies in the voids, some of them have characteristics that would make them stand out as being different from other galaxies. Apart from extremely large galaxies, the researchers have also found so-called ultra-diffused galaxies in voids. These types of galaxies are very large but basically have little bit of material that one may see.